How are you guys feeling? All right. So first of all, thanks to Renee and Jermaine for inviting me back to speak to you guys. I have a lot of passion and love for what they do and how they're pouring into all of us. And so what I really love about how they allow me to show up here is I get to choose my topic. And so the last time we spoke about access to capital, because it's such a pain point to a lot of businesses. But over my journey since then, I've realized that leadership is so critical. But in a lot of our SMEs, we don't really focus on leadership. We kind of think, I'll get to leadership when I get to it, or I'm already a great leader. But it has such an impact on business outcomes. And so what I wanted to do was, look at my face a little longer. So what I wanted to do today was just talk a little bit about my very strong passion that leadership has an outsized impact on outcomes. And these are outcomes whether you're at running a country or whether you're managing a team. The way people produce and deliver on what they're supposed to deliver has a lot to do with leaders. And I like to say for all of you guys who have kids in here, anybody have kids? It's probably the one leadership role I realized that we really weren't trained for. You just kind of roll up into that role. Right. So oftentimes people say, I'm not really a leader, I'm not running something. Well, if you're raising a child, that is one of the most impactful leadership roles. So we're just going to talk about running a small and medium-sized business today. Okay? And then the other thing I should just mention quickly, just to update everybody on my background. So I left Kenta. So I'm no longer at Kenta. I was the president of Kenta. I actually left them last year because I was having a hard time juggling all my traveling, and also because I was blessed as well, thanks to Kenta, to sit on more global boards. And the global boards pay well. And so I'm able to still be financially secure, let's call it, but able to have more flexibility because I have a 10 and a 5-year-old. And it's just a real thing. My husband is very, very helpful, but we parent differently. So it's helpful when I'm around. So he's great, though. He's great. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. No, I'm just kidding. So I still have to travel, but not as much. So I do serve Kenta at times and serve others through Global Triangle Advisors, just an advisory firm that does strategy, leadership, and business transformation. So before we start, I wanted to just ask this question. I hope the graphics will come up. But for those online, hi, I cannot see you, so I won't be able to engage with you, and I love engaging. But there are many in the room here, and so they will be your proxy. The first question I have for you guys, how important, let's just pause on this question to launch us into this session. So how important has leadership been in driving your business success, practically speaking? Like if you think about, gosh, over the last 12 months, this is a thing that really went well for me. How important was leadership in that on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 is not so important, 5 is very important. So you guys are like convinced, 5. Anybody with 1s in the room? 2s? 3s? Okay, great. Okay, right audience, right? So absolutely, leadership is important. And how many people in here actually think they're either an okay leader or a good leader or a great leader? All the okay leaders in the room? Okay, all the good leaders in the room? All right, all the great leaders in the room? That's right, okay? So the truth is that leadership is critical to business outcomes. And today, because of just my personality and how I like to work, I hope to be able to share with you today some very practical tips that you can take with you as you go into Monday. And just for context, this is, yes, I talk about SMEs. You can either be a company of one person, and you work with a lot of service providers, you're still leading them. Or could be a company of 15 people or 40 people. Again, my realization coming out of corporate when I was running the bank, our transformation of the bank had a lot to do with how we formed as a leadership team and what we did together. And then I went to Kenta, which is more of a startup, fintech. Oh, so innovative, love. I have so much more appreciation for SMEs now. And I realized bringing leadership and structure. They said, Mariam, you're such a people leader. I learned all of that here in Kingston, Jamaica. Okay, so that's when I realized, you know what, a lot of SMEs, we don't have this conversation because all the leadership training and the coaching and the feedback tends to come out of the large corporates. but we need it as much as possible to help drive the business outcomes. And in fact, when you think about the case for action, the real case for action are a couple of things. One, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You know, you read it in the books, but I lived it at the bank, and then I realized at Kento, and then I sit on these boards now watching these CEOs and their management team. And the truth is, if you're a person of one, a firm of one person, or a firm of many, you as the head of the firm and the owner, you are the chief engagement officer. You are the chief cultural officer. It's you, whether you're shy or extroverted, it doesn't matter. You are the person who's driving and shaping, along with your colleagues, the culture of your entity. The second thing is, a lot of people don't invest in leadership, whether it's to kind of come to these sessions and kind of remind yourself, get refreshers and little nuggets of new things to try for your context. A lot of people don't do that because they said, man, for the next dollar coming into my business, I need to put it into buying inventory, or I need to put it into hiring an accountant, or I need to put it into getting caught up on taxes, whatever it might be. It's never, let me invest in leadership. And the truth is, this is one of the blockages to scaling. It's also one of the blockages to getting to successful, wholesome execution. And then the final thing, and I forgot to mention this in terms of my perspective, I worked for 7 years as a funding SME, so giving out capital. So last time when I spoke about the demystifying how to gain access to capital, it was because I realized access to capital is actually quite formulaic. It's not really like, oh, I kind of like you, let me give you some money, or I don't. I mean, there's some element of that, but there's a formula. There's a way to go about getting access to capital. And one of the things I look for when I'm looking at businesses to invest in is what is the quality of the leadership. And leadership is not about degrees. It's things like, how long have they worked together? How do they make decisions? What is the process they have in place? How do they describe their culture? How are they able to share their vision? What are they doing? What is their strategy? What is their passion for the business? All of that you get a sense from by just chatting to you. You ever talk to people who are open to giving you capital and they ask you a ton of random questions? You think you're just having coffee with them? No, they're doing diligence on you as a leadership person, leadership team, or owner of the business. All right, so let me just share a couple of pitfalls that I typically see with small and medium-sized businesses, and then share a little bit where I really want to spend the time is what I think is the winning formula. It's like 10 points, but the winning formula to being a great leader / business owner, maybe / parent. I have not nailed that yet at all. All right, so we'll leave that out. It's out of scope. So common pitfalls for businesses. A lot of slides and words here, but I'll just share kind of from the heart what I've seen in working with people and also what others have shared with me. So one of the big pitfalls, wrong people in the wrong roles. Like it could be you're working with a service provider, maybe it's your friend, and they're just not delivering what you need them to deliver. But it's just uncomfortable to have the conversation, the contract comes up and so you roll it. It could be you're in a company, someone on your team is not doing a very good job. You know it's the wrong fit. You kind of put them in that role because when you're all getting started in the euphoria, you split up activities and roles. And then when you actually get to, okay, now we're really in business together, things are moving. You're like, wait, wrong people, wrong role, but we can't do anything. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. And so this is one of the pitfalls that actually you don't really have to hurt people's feelings to put right people in right roles. There are ways to do this with grace. And the more mature organizations, and mature is a mindset, not a dollar value or number of people, they know how to do this with finesse so people feel gratitude. They almost come to the decision together. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. A second pitfall for a lot of businesses is the ability or inability to communicate very simply and clearly, what is your narrative? What's your vision? What's your strategy? I sit on a board right now of a large company, and the team has formed, and it's quite a number of people. And we said, okay, great, what's the narrative? What's the vision? And all no. They're hiring a team to get to it. No, you're the business owner. You don't have to nail this. We just heard from the panel before, which I love that, by the way, guys. I learned a lot from that panel. Shout out to that panel. But seriously, you don't have to nail it. You just put out what your authentic vision and narrative is. You will get feedback and you can hone it as you go. But a lot of times, and I learned this at Kenta, we'd be on the phone. Brent is my CEO. I was COO, president. We get on the phone, and he's Mr. Fundraiser, deal maker. Love him. He's Mr. I see the vision, and I'm like, let me tell you the vision we can actually implement. And so we worked very well together. But when we were on the call, he'll say, they're like, what does Kenta do? And he starts talking about gold and blockchain and da-da-da. And then when I realized that the investors are like, what is he talking about? Then I'll be like, so what? Just to support Brent. And then I go, it's 3 key things that we do. We drive financial, I won't go into it now, but I was like, we drive financial inclusion through access to blue. And I went through the 3 things, and they're like, oh. And you can see they just go, oh. Every business owner in here should have a narrative, a 1 or 2 line on that. When we say, what does your business do? You can just tell me what it does. You'd be surprised how many people cannot do this. Or one fun fact, when I used to do road shows at the bank, I'd walk around and I'd be like, all right, hey guys, what's our mission and vision? And everyone's looking at me like, what is she talking about? I don't know what the mission and vision. And I'd be like, Alia, because you're just on the panel, so I know your name, because I used to call people by name. And I'd be like, Alia, so what is our mission? And you're like, it's like it's on the wall, or you can look it up, and then you'd say it, and everybody would help you out. So by the time I come the next month to the roadshow, they're like, oh, Prezi's coming, she can ask about our mission and vision. You know, like the most boring question, but I always kept asking it until people started saying, this is our vision. This is our mission. Okay? So this whole concept about a mission or vision, what you're trying to do, and it can change. It can change 6 months, it can change 12 months, but just have it. The third thing is this concept of culture. Now, I am an engineer turned into a finance person. I wrote my first real paper when I was a 3rd year in college. So I made it all the way through Jamaican high school. I went off to the U.S., made it through 2 years of U.S. college. It's only my 3rd year I started writing a paper, like a Word document in my days last century. We still used to it's true, somebody told me I was born last century, and I was like, I was. But like in my days, when you do papers, right, it was really hard because I was just getting used to the computer and the Word, and, and that was very hard for me. But now, I will tell you that when you're trying to work through people, which is ultimately what businesses is, you're really working through people to achieve some objective that you want as a business leader, the business owner. In order to work through people, it's not about having the best strategy. It's not about having a best budget, and you need to have these things. It's not even about just having the best people. It's fundamentally about having the best culture. It's cultural transformation. And culture is one of those overused words where if I said, what does culture mean? You'd be like, I don't really know. So let me tell you what culture means, because I think it's important to just have one definition, but you can also look it up. It's a reinforcement of desired behaviors. So like if you want certain behaviors, you're constantly reinforcing the desired behaviors that you want. That's essentially what culture is. And so and there are many things that go into forming a good culture, but what I see in own entrepreneurs is that this gets left. And in large corporations, when you show up in the room, this gets left. When you see people really turning the corner and doing well, this is a big reason why. People enjoy working together. They don't even have to actually like you, but it's predictable. It's meritocratic. It's fair. All of those, it's well. You communicate well. You're not hiding information. You're transparent. This is one of the pitfalls I see. Fourth one, this is very, very common. Large companies, small companies, but it stresses us more out when it's a small company, is we have a whole heap of things going on, and we're not constantly reprioritizing as things come into our orbit. So again, you'll be like, well, I have to do the conference, I have to do this, I have to do that. You have to reprioritize. And it has to be based on fundamentally your vision, what you're trying to accomplish in the next 3 months, next 6 months. That kind of focus is critical, whether you're a one-person business running our nonprofit, or you're working as a team leader in a large company where you think, my work don't really matter that much. Your team experience matters, and doing too many things at once, and people come and ask you, okay, Mariam, what should I do next? And you say, why they don't just know? No. Anyone who's coming to you to say, what should I do next? That's a good team member, because you are the one that has the bird's eye view, and you have to constantly be reprioritizing. And reprioritizing is not an admission that you didn't know what you're doing before. It's an admission that you have such a grasp of where we're trying to go that you're able to figure out what should go first, second, third, etc. The other pitfall, low accountability, this is pervasive in Jamaica and the Caribbean. But I see a lot of cultures that have suboptimal accountability cultures. And that's something I see as young people are coming up, they're fighting against as they go into their leadership roles. I see more meritocracy happening. I see more, if you do well, then I promote you to this. If you do well, I pay you for this. As opposed to you're so-and-so's friend, I'm going to slot you into this role. It's completely not the right role for you. It's damaging our business, but we can't move you. I see a little bit less of that as the next generation is coming up. But this concept of if you're not doing so great, and also what you're doing really well at. So just being very clear on how people are doing, and then rewarding people for how well they do is very important. This is accountability. The other thing I just say is, as entrepreneurs, you're usually very busy. You have a lot of things going on. There's a lot to do in the business. If you don't do it, you feel like the business will stall out or slow down. And so there's an emphasis on the hard skills. So like work planning, let me call somebody and do a meeting, just the hard skills versus the soft skills. The soft skills are really about emotional intelligence. It's about relationship building. It's about self-awareness. It's about mindset shift. All these soft skills are things that will help you to get your stakeholders more bought in and sticky with you, as well as your team or your providers, your service providers, depending on the type of business you have. And so this concept about soft skills, let me give you one example about emotional intelligence, although we'll come to the winning formula soon. On emotional intelligence, people used to say, okay, emotional intelligence. And I'll be like, I've been training. I was like, what does that really mean? And there are many elements of it, but which is the biggest one that I struggled with, that I think many people struggle with when it comes to emotional intelligence, although I'll tell you my spouse does not struggle with this, is self-control. Do you know what self-control really means? It means you're going to be so disciplined when you're in a situation and somebody has offended you. They've shown you disrespect, which is a word that I realized we use a lot in the Caribbean. When I was working in the US, you don't hear about they disrespected me. But here, when somebody just never they walk into this office and they never tell me good morning, Prezi. It's so disrespectful and rude. I was like, wow, we don't use the word over there as easily. Here we do. And so this whole concept about self-control is, how do you respond when someone doesn't tell you good morning? I hate to use it, Alia, because you're sitting right there and you were just on the panel, but I'd be like, Alia, somebody in the office say you never said good morning. I know you mean them well to say good morning, but next time you come in, just say, good morning, okay, and then you move on. That's a self-control. I'm going to now respond and give her the feedback, and she's going to receive it well, and we move on. Not, let me go and tell my friend over at the water cooler here, Alia thinks she know more than everybody else. That's why she don't tell us. If we were not the big boss, she don't tell us good morning. And it becomes this big issue. That's not self-control. So self-control is an element of emotional intelligence. And the more drama you put out into the universe, you just get it right back. So that's a big thing around soft skills. Weak governance. Again, it's the same thing around leadership. I don't have enough money, so the next dollar I'm not going to put into getting these reports. We'll just be late and we'll breach and take the penalty, right? Again, this is a common pitfall, but guess what, guys? If I'm going to give you capital and you're weak on governance, it's a non-starter for me. And so people, larger pools of capital is usually a non-starter for them. And if they have a lot of capital to give, they're doing their diligence properly, and you need to show strong governance, and it's not hard to do. And then finally, insufficient capital. When you need capital, you ask for not too much, because you're afraid if you ask for too much, you won't get it. It's best to just ask for a lot. People say, how long is your runway? You're running your business. How long you need it for? A good answer is 12 months or more. 12 months or more is good, Not 1 month. Because then we're like, wait, so what happens in a month, right? What if you don't hit those revenue targets in 1 month? So ask for the sky and people will knock you down. Don't preempt and negotiate against yourself. And I think the reason why I see all these pitfalls is usually that people are moving really fast. That is usually the issue. And they're also just concerned that I could be out of business tomorrow. So we don't have time to be spending things on fluffy things like what Miriam is talking about, like leadership. What is that really? Or governance? And so I'm very mindful of that, and I only share these because the ultimate goal is to have enough capital to grow your business and have enough credible relationships, whether it's customers, regulators, your team members, your board members, to stay in business and scale.